Hey, it's Vinny. Symbotic stock is up 50%. The company is showing no signs of slowing down. Today, we're going to take a quick look at their Q3 earnings, the new joint venture they just announced with SoftBank called GreenBox, and the company's outlook for 2024 and beyond. So, Symbotic stock is up 50% in the last 5 days. It went up 50% on the Q3 earnings, which was pretty insane to see this thing trade like a penny stock. And since they IPO'd here just over a year ago, back in May of 2022, the stock is up almost 500%. And then it pulled back a little bit today, dropping around 10%. If you don't know what Symbotic does, it's a warehouse automation company. So this is from their website here. Symbotic is an automation technology leader, reimagining the supply chain with its end-to-end AI-powered robotics and software platform. Symbotic reinvents the warehouse as a strategic asset for the world's largest retail, wholesale, and food and beverage companies, applying next-generation technology, high-density storage, and machine learning to solve today's complex distribution challenges. Symbotic enables companies to move goods with unmatched speed, agility, accuracy, and efficiency. As the backbone of commerce, Symbotic transforms the flow of goods and the economics of the supply chain for its customers. So AI, robotics, machine learning, they hit all the buzzwords here, but the more I look deeper into this company, it does appear that they truly are doing all this stuff and they're bringing artificial intelligence into the physical world. So their order backlog at the end of Q3 was $12 billion, and then they just announced this joint venture with SoftBank. It's going to be a company called GreenBox that added $11 billion more to their backlog. So the backlog now totals around $23 billion. Now, this is going to be Symbotic's primary revenue driver, and they said that maybe they'll add, one to two new customers annually. All right, so the quarter results, they greatly exceeded the company's own expectations that they had outlined. Revenue came in at $312 million, which was higher than what the company had projected by about 20%, and it grew 78% year over year. Adjusted EBITDA was negative $3 million. Again, they had forecasted negative 8 to 11 million, and their cash position grew to 513 million, up from 464 million in the prior quarter, and they have no debt, so the balance sheet looks good. And then for Q4, they are projecting from an adjusted EBITDA standpoint, actually going positive with $0 to $3 million in adjusted EBITDA income. So they now have 10 fully operational systems, and as this number increases, the recurring revenue continues to grow, and it's eventually going to start to bring in higher gross margins than the revenue they're getting from system installations, which is the bulk of their revenue today. So they have three revenue streams, which I outlined in this chart here. You've got the systems revenue, so when they're installing these massive warehouse systems. Then you've got this software maintenance and support revenue that's recurring, and operational services, which is also recurring. Now, as you can see, everything increased pretty substantially, but the cost of revenue also went up quite a bit. And it was interesting for me to see that the software, especially the software segment, is losing so much money. They did kind of mention that this may have something to do with stock-based comp and the accounting methods used there. Because over the long run, they keep talking about how this software revenue is going to be a high margin business. So, it might just be some one-off things. And just the costs having to do with being in this hyper growth stage. It's still very early, but definitely something to just keep an eye on as we go along here. So next up, we've got this GreenBox joint venture with SoftBank, which they said they believe adds $500 billion to Symbotic's total addressable market. So Symbotic is going to have a 35% in GreenBox, a 35% stake. SoftBank will have a 65% stake. CEO Rick Cohen stated that he felt this was the right time to act. They've been thinking about this for many years, this idea of adding warehouse as a service capability. So far, Symbotic had only worked with these big box retailers, Walmart, C&S Wholesale Grocers, and Unfi, to name a few. It seems the primary beneficiary of the new venture should be small and medium-sized businesses, but it can also be large companies that don't require an entire warehouse. So for example, they kind of talked about how, say, a warehouse can store 1 million units, but a company only needs 50,000 units worth of space. This is the type of situation that this GreenBox venture is going to cater to. So that makes sense that would massively increase their total addressable market. And this is something that, just wasn't really possible prior because there were just too many errors that made it, not efficient enough to work. But Symbotic, over the last 6 months, they said they've gotten their error rate down to about 1 in 1 million packages, if that. Cohen stated, "GreenBox is the realization of a vision I've had for many years to bring AI-enabled automation to companies of all sizes." And they're going to save these small and medium-sized customers a ton of money because they're usually paying a higher rate than these large customers do. This means GreenBox can offer small and medium-sized businesses a great value proposition while capturing more of the value of our technology. So this whole GreenBox initiative was a demand-led venture. And they think they're going to be able to, save these small and medium-sized businesses a ton of money because they usually are paying typically 2 to 3 times higher than what the warehouse costs are for large customers. So they think they're going to have a great value proposition for them. And it sounds like there's already interest. So there was some confusion as to why Symbotic was doing this joint venture thing. Why not just do it themselves? And basically they said that they don't want to overburn the company. They want to keep Symbotic this pure play warehouse automation company and basically, have someone else deal with all this. So Symbotic would just be selling the systems to GreenBox. They're the ones who are going to deal with the commercial end of things. And Cohen said how with C&S Wholesale Grocers, he was able to grow that company tremendously. He still owns it to this day. It's the 8th largest private company. It's the largest grocery wholesaler by volume. So Cohen ultimately said that this is going to put Symbotic in a much more competitive position, and he had wished he did something like this with C&S Wholesale Grocers because it would have enabled C&S to grow the company much faster had they pursued deals like this. So keeping Symbotic a pure play. Sounds like they're going to be able to benefit from a lot of the upside and not, become overburdened. And Cohen stated that he was happy to do this deal. He's quite confident GreenBox will create much more value for Symbotic than what I gave up, and I was able to do it with no dilution to shareholders. So it sounds like Symbotic got a really good deal here because they were able to do all this without any dilution to shareholders. So SoftBank wanted a larger stake in Symbotic. Cohen decided to give SoftBank 4% of his 78% ownership in the company. So he now has 74% ownership. And he was happy to do it because he said he's quite confident GreenBox will create much more value for Symbotic than what I gave up. And I was able to do it with no dilution to shareholders. So it sounds really good. Didn't have to dilute shareholders, which is great. And it sounds like this whole GreenBox thing is going to get going, hopefully with some customers in 2024. So it won't be immediate, but they're going to start building that out. And I'm glad to see Cohen still owns a massive stake in Symbotic. He's obviously very aligned with the company's success. And the CFO, Tom Ernst, stated, as Rick mentioned, the way we have structured the GreenBox joint venture allows us to rapidly transform a very large segment of the supply chain in a very capital-efficient way to harvest significant returns for shareholders. We believe that GreenBox is a great opportunity for Symbotic shareholders and are very excited about its future. So because we had, this great quarter, a lot of revenue exceeding expectations, they're guiding for a flat Q4. But, if we look at this year, 2023, revenue through the first 9 months is $785 million compared with $349 million last year. So they've already grown revenue over 100%. And they expect a flat quarter coming up with Q4, but a return to healthy growth in 2024. They continue to invest in innovation. They spent $49 million on R&D this quarter. And Tom Ernst also stated, we're continuing to invest significantly in our major innovation initiatives as well. So that continues to be something that we think has a significant payoff over time. So the two major, innovations that they're working on now are the SYM and BreakPack, which while in the short term is affecting the gross margin, they think they're going to have massive payoffs. So my only really concern at this point is competition. I'm yet to find a comparable solution, and Symbotic seems to have no demand issue as evidenced by this ever-growing backlog that's now up to $23 billion. It's just a matter of how quickly they can deliver on their systems. It sounds like right now it's kind of like a 2-year process, and they're hoping over time to be able to get these installations down to 6 months. And that would obviously also help margins. So this GreenBox joint venture with SoftBank should open up an entire new market, should be more efficient for Symbotic. And it was really interesting. So a 3PL, third-party logistics warehouse, runs a company's supply chain and logistics operations. And historically, it's been very difficult for these 3PL operators to put multiple tenants in a single warehouse due to processing errors that make it very hard to keep the inventory under control. It seems like Symbotic solves this problem. In the last 6 months, as I mentioned, they're only seeing one error, maybe one error out of 1 million cases shipped. Cohen stated, this is a new market that I don't think people fully understand, and it's a very, very big market. So there seems to be quite a big significance coming out of the GreenBox joint venture. And one of Symbotic's competitive advantages that they already had was that they were able to retrofit pre-existing warehouses. Seems like something not everyone is able to do. Now it seems like they're going to be able to optimize for multiple tenants in a single warehouse, which may present an even bigger opportunity and really revolutionize supply chain logistics here. So Cohen has his vision for the company to provide warehousing as a service. It's got a nice ring to it. And in a hyper-competitive and challenging landscape, I can see the tremendous benefit this could provide for small and large businesses alike. It can really make every operation more efficient. Maybe a small company only needs to store 50,000 units, but the warehouse is built for 1 million units. Well, now 20 companies could probably share that one warehouse. But it also is good for bigger companies because maybe they right now have one massive warehouse, but they could spread out, into 20 partial warehouses all throughout their key markets. That's obviously going to help them become more efficient. And this is something that maybe wasn't possible, and now it will be thanks to Symbotic's technology. So Cohen stated they're offering both small and large customers a whole different supply chain flexibility that they never had before. Symbotic, it appears, is poised to move into yet another vertical in 2024, and they show no signs of slowing down. If you're interested in learning more about Symbotic, check out my recent videos here, one of which is on their recent Investor Day presentation. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the next one.